Hey, everybody. That is Gary Smith.
It's hot.
That is Kaz Kenny.
Kapow!
And I am Eddie Bramble, and this is episode 28 of the Blackwater's Edge podcast. And it is hot out, boy.
We're sitting up here in the dungeon. We might as well call
You
this
said
place tonight.
She said that Go Fund Us page up yet?
Go Fund Us.
We will take ice, window fans.
Towel girls, air
Yeah,
conditioning.
we'll take what you got. If it's cold, we'll take it.
All right, Kaz, why don't you start us off this week's fishing report?
All right, so, it has been really hot. We've had a few thunderstorms here and there. We've had some rain. It's just been like anywhere else, man. It's hit or miss. If you're there at the right time, you seem to capitalize. And if you're not there at the right time, you seem to go home hungry or a little frustrated. So just be patient and know that fish are just like us, that they're very moody. And if they don't want to eat, they don't want to eat. And when they all want to eat, then they all will eat. So it's pretty simple how that goes. So let's talk about over 335 in that area right now. We're seeing a lot of snakeheads being caught above the bridge, all the way up to the footbridge.
Meps.
Meps. That's what it's been this week. Everybody's harping on Meps again this week. So, they're catching some perch up in there. They're catching some catfish. They're catching some carp. They're catching a few rocks, some French fry rock, I like to call them, because they're not really big, but they're really fun. And they're getting, some crabs are all throughout the river. So if you're out there and you're doing some fishing, bring along a crab trap or hang a chicken neck off the side of your kayak while you're floating around. You might just get yourself a couple dozen crabs, take home and eat, and they're running really fat and really good right now. So
Yeah, they're good crabs right now.
over at Key Wallace, it's kind of the same thing: crabs, snakeheads, catfish, eel, a few carp. If you got a little net with you, just to give a little pro pointer, maybe scoop up some grass shrimp off the rocks and maybe put a little different flavor on that hook with you while you're throwing your bait out there, if you're doing that. Or if you're throwing a chatterbait or something like that, and you get some of the bigger grass shrimp, just poke them on the back of the hook right there and see what you can do. I did hear I got a friend, so he's got this little rig that he's using right now, and he's using a chatterbait, and he's got a little stinger hook on the back. It's only like a number 2.
Is this the same friend with the gummy bears? And
No, but he's up there with his brain's not so right. But what he's doing is he's taking a little tiny like trout hook, and he's putting like 7-8 grass shrimp on that, and he's got that tied to the actual hook on the chatterbait. And when I saw the other, I said, "Dude, what in the heck is that? What is that?" He goes, "Oh man, this is my shrimp enticer." I said, "Your shrimp enticer?" He said, "Yeah, man, remember you showed me about those shrimp in the rocks? Well, I figured out a way to put this little piece of metal on here and put this little hook here, and I'm catching more on my chatterbait by putting the shrimp enticer on the back." So I guess we might want to keep our eyes peeled for the shrimp enticer, which might be coming out here sooner than later.
And we'll get some snooze bags. Like that used for trot line. Get some little teeny ones.
Hey, think about it. The snakeheads bit it. Their teeth would get hung up in the twine. They'd be good. Hey, Gary. Maybe we want to start hanging some clam bags from some jugs instead of some live carp.
That's how they used to catch those alligator gar with rope, I'm afraid.
I remember that. Over Transquaking, we got a few bass over there. A lot of the bass that are being caught are pretty big, so that's always fun. The sad thing that I'm seeing this year is I'm not seeing the numbers of big bass that we saw last year, and we're not seeing the numbers of big bass that we saw the previous year to last year.
And we're definitely not seeing any numbers of small bass.
Absolutely. So we're paying attention to some of that too, and we're going to get into some other things in the show today about what we're seeing with the fish. Over in the Transquaking, like I said, few bass, lots of snakeheads. Haven't really heard much anything else. I've heard of a catfish here, a catfish there. That's about it. The crappie and bluegill, they're just not catching them over there at all. Over in the Marshy Hope, I'm hearing bass, pickerel, snakeheads, a few bluegill, and some of the little marinas and things like that. A few crappie in some of the marinas, things like that. Around the pylons on the bridges coming up the river towards Smithville and all that area. Over in Smithville Lake, we're hearing that the snakeheads are really starting to take off in that area, and that there's quite a few in the lake, and there's quite a few being caught below in the spillway. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Smithville Lake, it's one of the Eastern Shore's trophy bass managed lakes, and it has a slot limit on the bass. So there's a good quality bass population in there right now. Whether that's going to stay that way or not, we're paying attention to that and watching some of the abundance shifting in that particular area too. So up at Y Mills in the spillway, they're catching some snakeheads there. They're catching snakeheads downriver from there. They're catching some snakeheads in the lake above the spillway from what I'm hearing, and they're seeing lots of pairs and a few fry balls being guarded. So we'll see some more snakeheads, I'm sure, in that lake also up there at Y Mills. Peach Blossom Creek, some of the guys I'm talking to that are they're shooting some good numbers. The hook and line guys, some guys are getting on them, some guys aren't getting on them. So, I think it's all about just trying to be diverse in what you're doing for the day and be open to try, anything that you can. Out at Dover Bridge, big catfish are catching out there. Some snakeheads, some bass, some stripers, some perch. Barron Creek, we're hearing some pretty hefty snakehead numbers coming out down there. And some of the fish are on the rather large jumbo size. So you might want to look down in that area there too. And a lot of those tributaries on the Nanacoke are starting to heat up in that area particularly. So, the gar are starting to shift back out a little bit now, so, So now that the snakeheads are now that the gar are shifting out, the snakeheads seem to be coming more into the lily pads. I see it there, Jason. We're going to talk about how to dispatch. We'll dispatch the snakeheads.
Yep.
Make a note of that so we touch on that later because we're going to talk about some stuff with that. So again, I mean the crabs and stuff like that, things are going really good as far as crabbing goes. If you're down here, you're not catching snakeheads, bring a couple chicken necks, some rope, and a little hand dip in line, and you and the kids will definitely have an adventure for the day that everybody's going to remember. And before I get off the topic of the fishing, our salt situation here is really going to shift here in the next week, 2 weeks. We're going to start seeing those fish that everybody's been waiting for coming up the bay. We're going to start seeing the cobia. We're going to start seeing more of the drum. We're going to start seeing just a lot of opportunities coming our way. So, folks, if you like fishing the salt, that's the good thing about Dorchester County here. You've got the best of all three worlds here. You've got the best of the fresh, you've got the best of the tidal, and you've got the best of the salt. So I am hearing that some flounder are around this year in more numbers than what we've seen previously. And I think just looking at what I'm talking to Damien about, what he's seeing in the traps when they're trapping, he's seeing right now 4 to 6 inch, little puppy drum, he's seeing little black drum. He's seeing a lot of stuff that we know have been migrating into the little chop tank and into the Hunger River and into the big chop tank. These fish that we haven't necessarily seen in a long time, and especially in any kind of number or size. So that's kind of something good to look forward to, I think. The big thing this year in the Chesapeake is the talk has been the trout, how big the speckled trout are and what we're seeing this year. And I have to agree, I haven't seen a run like this in a long, long time. I sure would love to see some croaker. That's something I really would love to see here is some croaker, So maybe we get lucky, maybe we'll see a few. But I do want to talk about the Z-Man, and this is made with the Elastic, okay? This lure right here has been just been smoking.
Fried chicken.
Smoking. It's called fried chicken. And I'm going to pull one out the package just so you can see what it is. It's just a little swim bait. It's not real big at all. It's just a little, it's got a little flappy tail. And I got to tell you what, man.
Looks like a boot.
That tail, well, the reason I think this thing works so much is you see how much swing is on that tail. That's what it's doing in the water when it's going through. I mean, it is literally swinging that much. And the vibration that I can literally feel just in the tip of my rod, from that tail fluttering like that is amazing. So I know the fish not only can see it, but they can hear it. You know what I mean? They can feel it in that lateral line. So, it's called the trout trick. That's what it's called, the trout trick. And this is
it's a great swim bait.
This is the fried chicken flavor, and they got some pretty cool flavors out there. So if you're down here and you're checking out the trout, make sure you stop in and grab a bag of these to try out, while you're down here and you're visiting.
It's a good battle tail swim bait for snakeheads too.
Well, I think the thing about it is that elastic.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's using this beefed up elastic now, and I think that's going to be a super game changer in the snakehead world and in the pike and in the muskie world too.
Just like with the hyperelastics,
yeah,
same thing.
Yeah. I mean, the hyperelastic. I mean, sure, we know them things. Them things are
tearing them up.
I can sit there and reminds me of what was the little doll we had, Stretch Armstrong?
Yeah.
Is that his name? Stretch Armstrong. No matter how much you pull, we just couldn't break him. So that's about what I got on the fishing side anyway. Anything you can think of, Gary? What have you had going on this week with fishing? Anything?
Not much. Haven't been this week. I'm going tomorrow, and I'm going to try to go Saturday. But I'll give a shout out to Daryl Willie. I forgot to mention this last week when Mary and Ivana were fishing with me. I had the wind was blowing. We never seem to get a day that the wind didn't blow 40 miles an hour. But I got a little mushroom anchor, and I had to drop the anchor over just to keep the boat somewhere close to where we want to be, and it was dragging a little bit. And when I pulled it up, I had one of these hanging off of it. Red one just like this, except the head was black. I think the skirt was, can't remember, the skirt was black and white. But it looked just as clean as this one, like somebody just lost it that day. So if you were fishing back in Blackwater a week or so ago and you lost one of these with a black head,
it's half price.
I know where you fish, but I don't know who you are. So if you want it back, just introduce yourself.
we don't need your pictures. We'll find out who you are through the tackle.
And it just came up on my anchor. when I pulled it up. It wasn't. It was just laying there. It didn't hook it or anything.
And you said it was just a mushroom anchor.
Yeah, just mushroom anchor, and it's concave on the top, and I guess dragging through the mud, it
I don't know,
broke
Gary.
off. Didn't have a tail on it, anything.
I just think you got a horseshoe up your rear end sometimes, man.
Well, we'll see.
Dipping 80-inch snakeheads on the side of the kayak as they swim by and they
we'll
eat
see
his
if
arm
the owner
off.
shows up or not. Then you know I'm lucky.
Oh man.
So what have you done this last weekend, Gary? Anything exciting?
I went. It was Monday night. I went down at my little spot, and Bob Herbert was there, and he was fishing. I was just I got a sub here, and I was in there sitting there watching the sunset, eating it. And Bobby left probably 20 after 8, and he literally had not made it to the road, and I had one on him. I remember seeing him to tell him yet, but if he's watching this, he'll
He
know.
knows now.
Yeah, he knows now.
That just reminds me of a trip with Chad Wells, and I'm just going back several years ago. I had him meet me up at Lapidum one evening for some rockfish. We were going to go catch some big rockfish, and it was funny because he came there and we didn't catch any rockfish, and we were there for like 4 or 5 hours, and it was like midnight, and he had to go. He's busy chef. He's got to get everything ready. He's like, man, I got to get home. I got to get some sleep, man. So he left, and I swear to God, he wasn't out of there 5 minutes. I watched him go up the hill. I'll see his brake lights go, and as soon as he's out of vision, my one rod doubles over. I pulled that one in. It was a big, giant rock. Took a picture, sent it to him, and I went like that for like 3 more. Boom, boom, boom. Right after he left, I was like, dude, you left like just. He's like, you took them pictures the other night. I was like, no, man, it's the same outfit I'm wearing right now. Oh yeah, I didn't see that. So it's amazing how that happens sometimes.
Absolutely.
I got to get out on Monday, and I wasn't out very long. I was out for a couple hours, and I caught 6 snakeheads. They weren't very big. They were all, I don't know, maybe 14 to 24 inches, maybe somewhere in there. And I was using the MEPS. That's what I was using. And what happened was they would not. They kept running it down. They just boom. They like push it, boom, push it, boom, push it. You see the bubbles. You knew what it was. So I got to thinking there, and I was like, you know what, man? I put my hand down in the water, and man, I'm telling you, it was boiling, man. It was like bad.
Oh, the water's hot.
I mean, hot. And I didn't have a temperature, but I'm telling you, I think it was at least 90 degrees. I ain't
no
shitting
doubt in my
you,
mind.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I was like, maybe I'll slow something down, just something a little slower. And I got to tell you, because I told Eddie I was going to mention it, because Roman actually brought it up in the tournament.
Yep.
Okay.
I remember that. Yeah.
And he actually placed in the tournament, and I thought, you know what, let me get a little 1/8 ounce jig head out. Let me just get, something. Now, look, I wasn't chasing 20-pound snakeheads. I saw what was there. So, I got a little 1/8 ounce jig head out, and I went to Old Reliable, man. Old Reliable, Mr. Twister, 3-inch Mr. Twister on a jig head. And I got to thank Roman because, Roman kind of brought that to my attention at one of the tournaments. I remember he said, you wouldn't believe I got him on Twister Tails. And I'm going to tell you right now. So I was able to.
Well, Mary caught her that 30.5-inch one on those little Mr. Twister, the little crappie.
Yeah.
The 2-inch
spinner
ones.
bait.
Yep.
Yeah, the little tiny one.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it didn't bend the hook straight, but it didn't.
People years ago always asked me if I could pick one lure in my whole box that I knew was going to produce for me. It was always a twister tail. Now, grant you, I fished mainly Susquehanna. I fished the Bush River. I fished. There was a lot of different species of fish that would hit that thing. So I knew that if I was struggling for the day and I was having a bad time, I could simply just throw a twister tail on, and it might take 30 or 40 casts, but I would find something eventually. You know what I'm saying?
Well, always keep that stick of dynamite in my box in case somebody gives me that opportunity.
He doesn't know, but I took it out yesterday. I need it for tomorrow.
Well, you're fishing today.
But I mean, the coolest thing about that is sometimes simply it's speed. Sometimes you're just too fast. Sometimes you're too slow. If the fish are feeding and they're accustomed to chasing a certain lure or a certain bait, not lure, if their forage is got a certain speed and that's what they're used to, and you come ripping through there at 1,000,000 miles an hour, they're like, that doesn't look right.
Yep.
This water's too hot for that thing to be that fast. See, a lot of times I think as anglers, I know I go nuts with it, but I try to think deep, man, like so deeper than most. You know what I mean? And like that's what I think about when I'm fishing. Like, why are these fish not responding to what I'm doing? There's something going on other than the lure, because I know they ate this lure before. I know they like eating this lure, but they're just not giving me any attention.
Well,
and that's what I did. I just 1/8 ounce jig head threw this on, and you know what? The other 3 that I could not get, that made my 6. So I had the 3 on the MEPS, and then the 3 that I watched, it just kept coming. Just they wanted it, but it was just not right, you know. And then I said, man, I'm going to try this little downsize thing.
I'll tell you something. In this shallow water right now, as hot as it is out, that very thing the reason that you don't go early in the morning in the spring is because the water's got to warm up. Well, the water's already warm.
Right. Yep.
And by 10:30, 11 o'clock, the
It's
water's
too late.
hot.
Now,
And presentation right now is everything.
And I know we've said it lots of times, so not to confuse people, you know, we've said
Yeah.
all the time, you know, they usually die out biting, you know, the last hour. They usually don't start till the first hour. And a lot of that is certainly, you know, springtime action, you know.
Right.
And then once we get into summertime, I mean, we actually have fish feeding at night that guys aren't fishing for.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So so there's opportunities that aren't just available here during the daytime. There's lots of opportunities available here after dark. You know, and please keep in mind that, you know, keep your trash picked up. Doesn't mean party all weekend, all night on the side of the road.
That's
it means,
right.
you know, enjoy yourself, catch some fish, and have a good time. But
And practice casting. Because when it's hot like this, they literally will not swim 6 inches
You're
out
right.
their way to grab
You're
that
right. I
lure.
try to tell people
But
that
if
all
you
the
present
time.
it to them right, it's just, I told somebody the other day, it's like you're sitting at the dinner table when you say a cuss word and your dad just backhands you. It's a reflex. They just can't help it, you know? When that lure is presented to them, they're just going to grab it. It's just instantaneous.
Did you ever get any warning when that was coming? Because I never did.
I never cussed at the dinner table. I saw
I
what happened
did.
to my brother one time, and it wasn't worth the chance.
You learn real quick
Yeah.
at the dinner table.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a quick learner on that kind of stuff.
I think what we're trying to say here, Gary, is let the fish dictate to you.
Yeah.
You know what you think is the best approach to the fish. I mean, if you see them 20 yards from you and they're guarding a fry ball, and you start getting close to them and they're pushing away from you, stop. You know what I mean? Don't keep pursuing them. I mean, if you really want to get the opportunity to fish them and you get up on them, and the parents know you're there, it's going to be a little tougher no matter how you look at it, because now the parents can see you. You know, if you can stay back and you can stay, you know, away from that fry ball and kind of just kind of creep in there, you know what I mean? If you can just creep in there and get on them, you know what I mean? You be a little more successful that way, you know? A lot of guys, you know, I look at some of the YouTube stuff, you know, and the guy's like, oh, look, there's a fry ball, and he's paddling as fast as he can to get to it.
Yep.
I'm like, what the hell are you doing that for, man? And you watch him come right up on it, and everything's
gone.
gone. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean,
just walking on the ground
Yeah.
where we fish,
yeah.
it's shallow.
Yep.
And they can literally, I tell people I've got a deck behind my house and a pond there. Pond's 100 feet from my house. In the morning, my wife goes out and feeds the koi every day. When she opens the deck door, walks out on the deck, and starts across the deck before she hits the steps, you can see the waves coming down the pond. They can feel her walking across the deck 100 feet away.
First time I went fishing with cats for snakehead. Very first time. We were fishing and walking along the bank. I mean, we weren't even up to the bank yet. And all of a sudden, you just rocket just shot out, and cats like, oh, let's go on to the next spot. They're gone now. It's all it takes, and they're gone.
But you have also times where that's not the case, you know? And I think that, like guys that fish with me early in the year, like springtime and wintertime, they'll see, like, I have a side of aggression that you don't see me display through the summertime. You know, like in the springtime, you may see me in a canal, and I may see the snakeheads 30 yards down from me, let's say. And the first thing I'll do is I'll look for a stick. You know, and my buddies be like, what do you want a stick for, man? I'm like, just watch what I'm going to do. And I'll turn around and I'll get that stick, and you can watch them fish down the bank. And you can take that stick and you can whack out water 4 or 5 times and just stand there and watch them. It may take a couple seconds, but you'll watch them. They'll come a little closer and stop. Hit it again. Come a little closer and stop. And then when they're like 5 yards out from me, just completely stop altogether and just watch the behavior of that
They're
fish.
trying to feed that metabolism,
Yeah.
but right now, they don't need to
Right.
eat during the day.
Well, it's the same
Right.
thing as when you rattle antlers with deer.
Right.
Oh, I mean,
Right.
it's all depends on how you're attracting them. If you do it the wrong way, you're going to scare them off. If you do it the right way, you're going to bring them into you. It's the same principle.
You're so true with that. I never thought about that as an analogy, but that's a
Yeah.
great analogy to use right there. You know, I mean, even for me, like here's the thing, like I can get on a fry ball, right? And like I can be right over top that fry ball and watch those parents. And you can just kind of stick your rod in there, you know, in them fry ball, and you can watch them go crazy. Like, what the hell is that? But the minute you lean out over that bank, or the minute they see your shadow, the minute they see that you're present, you know, it's done. So that's like I tell people, you know, this time of the year, you've got to be stealthy. You know, you've got to be patient. You've got to take your time getting to the fish. they're very, very, it seems to me, I don't want to use the word sensitive, but they're more alert, it seems like, when it's hot like this. You know?
They've already been through a big portion of their bait in the springtime, so that they're not as hungry. They're still aggressive when it's right in their face, but they're not seeking that bait the same way they do in the springtime.
I agree.
So you got to change your tactics up.
And if you're fishing public waterways, unless you've got something that just came out today, they've already seen every lure that's out there.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
And that's another thing, like I keep telling guys, like the bridges get the most visits, let's say. Okay, so you have to remember that a lot of those fish are territorial to a degree. So they're staying in that area. You know that they're looking for something to eat, and those fish that have been there utilizing that area as their home, let's say, maybe the bay above DeCourcy or the cuts below DeCourcy, they come to the bridge to feed. You know what I'm saying? They come to the bridge looking for food.
Right.
So you've got 50 anglers on the bridge fishing. You have to understand that they've seen a lot of these lures now, So, like, I try to tell folks, to be as successful as you want to be, get off the bridges. I hate to say that. The bridges can be great one day. They can be great 5 days from then, The bridges aren't great every day.
No.
If you can find those sweet spots that I talk about, you can find a place for you to go and find fish that you otherwise would not have found, period, staying on the bridge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think one of the biggest things to look at here is, here's the thing. We got all this parking stuff going on. So, again, make sure you're off the road.
That's one thing I have noticed since these signs have gone up. I've seen a lot more kayaks in the back of trucks. People are using that to their advantage now. They're kayak fishing instead of bridge fishing, the people who can.
And the good thing with these guys with the kayaks is I'm already talking to them. And I'm helping some of them out where to go, where to look. And they're being very successful.
Yes.
So my point is not that you got to have a kayak to be successful in Blackwater. That's not what I'm saying. What we're saying is if you want to think outside the box and you want to get off the bridges and you want to get away from where the traffic is, these are the ways that we find 100 fish. Yes or no, Gary? I mean, that's what we do. We get away from everything. We go search new waters. We find a place where they're feeding, and we hold in that area for a day or two until they move. When they move, we try to move with them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it just gives you more opportunity. Where if you're bridge fishing and they're not biting at that bridge that day, you're done. I mean, your opportunity's gone. Yeah. If you're kayak fishing, well, not necessarily.
No, I'm just saying the heat out there.
Right.
I mean,
but I'll tell you something else. When you're fishing, and there's a little piece of structure or whatever it is that you cast and you get a hit, mark that in your brain because the next time you go,
or in your phone,
hit that spot, whatever, hit that spot. Because man, I catch them. Where we're fishing. I mean, I can walk down that shoreline and tell you everywhere to cast.
That reminds me. Like you say, make the mental note. And I'm going to talk about Riley, the kid that helps me with the crabs. I brought him down here on his first trip, and I've always made it a point to tell guys, sweet spots, money spots, whatever you want to call them. Ambush point is more what I call it. Right. Every stretch of every branch, every canal, it's got ambush points. And if you can find these ambush points, this is where you're going to capitalize on your snakehead fishing. These fish are no different than any other fish. The rockfish, the bass, they want to feed. They want an easy opportunity. So they're looking for a place that's a great hideout and a great opportunity to ambush anything that comes within 3 or 4 inches of it. You know what I'm saying?
They want shade.
Right.
It's lit in front of it, basically. Little coves, stuff like that, under the edge of a log, anything like that.
And what happened with Riley was we came down here, and he said, man, I caught that right off of that log. He said, it hit me so fast when I cast there. I said, well, then, dude, work that log, man. Stay on that log all day. Mm-hmm. All afternoon, stay on that log. What shouldn't I move? I said, no. I said, I think that you've got a real hot ambush point on this tide, so stick with it. Man, I sat there and watched the kid catch like another 13, 14, and it was all about that same exact spot. If he missed it 6 inches, was off of it, missed it, it was nothing. But if he hit it right on the edge of that end of that stick, man, it was done,
That's why presentation's so important right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to move.
Wayne Brown, I took him over Lynn's one day, and we were up on the bridge there. And he can tell you, he caught 8 off the same piling. And it was just the one piling. They weren't on any other piling. They wanted that one piling, and every time we pulled one off, another one moved in. These are the sweet spots I'm talking about, and every branch has it, man. Every cut has it. Every place you're fishing has it.
And it changes when the tide changes.
Yes. Yes.
So notice the way the tide's going, and if it's turned the other way,
Well,
this place not going to work.
It's not just the tide. I mean, it's the time of day.
Yeah, but the way the water flows has a lot to do with ambush points because it's coming a different direction from the other way.
And then even like a lot of successful fishing right now will be locating the schools of smaller shad, locating the schools of smaller bunker, locating the schools of smaller alewife that are in because they utilize Blackwater for a nursery until the fall, and then they migrate back out into the bay. So another thing that you want to look at, if you see fish chasing bait on a bank, or if you see a school of fish that's just flickering the slightest little bit, you know what I mean? Try to throw, if you can, like maybe a crankbait or a rattle trap through it first. I always try to see what the bait is. So not to be inhumane, but if I can snag a little shad and see what it is, then I know the color they're eating. I know the size of the bait they're looking for, and I can narrow down my selection in my tackle box as to what I'm going to approach that fish with as my next choice. You know what I'm saying?
Hatch.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the biggest thing right now, and I think we're starting to see some of it too, Gary, with our frogs. There's a lot of little frogs right now because a lot of the frogs that were tadpoles, that are around are now small frogs and things like that. And I know that for you, I think the last week it's been pretty much you've been utilizing your frog fishing the most.
I felt bad for that poor little frog. He's finally died, man. I have warped him.
There wasn't enough new glue to get him right, bud.
God dang, man. I just couldn't believe he finally got tore up the other night. And now he fills up the water when you drag him through because it tore him in the mouth. But God dang, I don't know how many I've caught on that thing. It's just unbelievable that he's held up that long.
My favorite lure, and everybody knows it because if you talk to me, I always tell you to get this,
See, no, I'm different.
I know Eddie doesn't like it, but this is my ditch go-to right here. The Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog, and I think I've introduced a lot of people to this lure here, and a lot of people really like it. And a lot of people ask me, well, the bottoms on all the frogs are all white. Okay, I don't know about the color. I just know that this lure works. It seems like the black works better at night, and it's all black. It doesn't have a white belly like that. And if you want to change your bellies, it's as simple as getting a
different frog,
a paint pen, and changing.
More.
Well, I keep garlic pens in my tackle bags. And they're blue, red, orange, chartreuse orange, all different colors. So I'll take those spike it pens and I will just color the bottom, not just as it gives it some color, but it gives them a little bit of scent to it too. Profile. The garlic gives it some scent. And Gary, I know I want to touch on scent because I know that you have been doing some stuff with some scent here.
Yeah.
And
you're giving away a secret.
I
was going to talk about it anyway.
I don't want to get into it, but I know we talked about last year making dragon juice, and I know Gary's working on something this year. So I'm hoping this year that we can come up with a nice spray to offer the public, which I think we're heading in the right direction with what we're doing. And I think that the biggest key to the success of our spray is that we're using natural ingredients that are found here in Blackwater. So we're keeping our scent locally and familiar, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I think by us doing that, that really increases the odds of that scent producing and doing something for us.
And it does when they, like I told Mary when we were fishing, she lost the first two because she waited 3 seconds and snatched and she didn't hook up. So I told her, so when you bring your line in, let me have it. And I sprayed, I've got a little scent that I use, and I'm not going to plug anybody, but scent's a scent. And I told her, so when you hook up the next one, don't hook him. Just let it go. And she'll probably tell you it was 3 minutes, but it was really probably 30 seconds that I'm talking to her after this fish had took the frog. And I said, he tastes that. He's not going to spit it out. He's trying to work it around and get rid of that plastic. But he's not going to spit it out because he knows there's a piece of meat in there somewhere. He can taste it. And finally, I told her, so if it goes to the right, pull to the left. If it goes to the left, pull to the right. If it goes away from you, straight up, try to pull his head off when you hook him. And you boom, landed him. Yeah. But I mean, that fish had that frog under the water for 30, 40 seconds.
Wow.
Before she ever hooked up.
And see, this goes back again to the summer pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not as aggressive. We're not on the hunt as aggressive as we were in the spring. So we're a little more subtle to react, a little more subtle to ingest. So again, Gary, you just
Yeah,
gave
well,
another
one
good
frog
piece
will hold
of
them all
advice.
day now. You know? In the spring, they're eating fast. They want one and grab another one, so they're not going to hold it as long. But
Before we get too deep, I want to make sure we answer this question by Jason. He was asking about how to dispatch them.
Okay, so we have the Chana chopper. We have that here. You know, you can get that product here at the Wolford store. What the state wants you to do, okay, and removal of the gill arches is fine, but the problem is if you're not going to keep the fish and you're going to remove the gill arches or you're going to cut the gill arches and you're going to be that guy that throws it back in the water, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that those gills will reattach and they will be okay, because you have to remember that they have the air bladder that they can also breathe with. Okay, so they have ways to get through that if you decide to go that route with your euthanization of your fish. They want you to sever the spinal cord. You know, they want the spinal cord severed. So if you've got your fish and forget the gill arches, forget the gutting, forget everything else, and you cut the snakehead from the top of the head behind the brain through the spinal cord and you stop, that is considered a legal kill. Okay, now if they check you and you've got it like that in your cooler and they touch it with the poker and the fins don't move, then you're good to go. If its fins do move and you have severed the spinal cord, then the officer's going to be able to look at that and say, okay, this was an attempt to kill the fish. It's still got some nerve action going on. I'm not going to give this guy a hard time.
Well, not just that, but I mean, there's no way for that fish to regenerate that spinal cord.
Right.
It's not the same as regenerating the gill arches.
right.
Because if you just cut the gill arches and think that's going to kill him,
We've seen it in tournaments when they bring him in, and you can see where somebody cut him, and they're back together
and
now.
I'll tell you, I use the chopper.
Yep.
But I've gotten to the point now that
Chainsaw?
from his from his nose to the back of the skull is about, on an average is
it's
anywhere
long.
from 4 to 6, 8, 10 inches long, according to how big the fish is.
Right.
If you're using the chopper, your window there behind that skull, you're in the meat if you're a 1/4 inch off.
Yep.
And if you're not it's swinging, man, a hammer or whatever you got, if you bust that bone, to me, they die quicker. I mean, I've cut them 2 inches down into them where you can clearly open it up and see both sides of the spinal cord, and they'll still twitch for an hour or more sometimes. Especially
Well,
if you throw them in the
I've shown
cooler.
you the videos of how Wayne and Ricky and them do them. Yeah.
But I've been whacking them and busting that bone, that skull, and they seem to fall out pretty quick.
Now, I wonder if you say that you have to bust the skull, though.
Yeah, you got to fracture that bone.
Right. I'm wondering if that's because it lets the air out of the air bladder. I wonder if that's something that they can't breathe in anymore. I
don't know, but man, if you bust that bone,
I would imagine there's a connection somewhere down the spinal cord to the air bladder, I would think.
could be, but they
I'll ask Jeremy or I'll
perish
ask
pretty
Bob.
quick.
I'll get an answer.
I
on
thought
that.
at first, when I first did it, that maybe you're knocking them out, and 20 minutes later he'll come to. They don't, man. I mean, they stop because I'd do that, and I open his mouth up and reach right down in there and take my hook out.
Yeah.
This is the
And
thing.
I don't do that when I sever the spinal cord.
This is the thing that we have to remember, okay? It has to be not alive once you pull it out the water and you put it in your cooler.
Right.
Okay? If you have your snakeheads live on the stringer in the water,
You're done.
it's not going to fly.
Sure.
You may get lucky and the officers say, okay, well, pull them out right now and kill them and we're good to go.
If
But,
you're lucky.
Man, don't tell them that I told you you could hit him in the head.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that in the last 3 weeks they have busted quite a few people with some serious ass bullshit. And I'm sorry to say that. But you know what? If you're coming down here and you're trying to transport 50 to 100 fish up the road somewhere, dude, you belong getting your nailed to the cross. I'm sorry. I can't support that one bit. So just know that they are here and they are watching, and they have a little stick. And if they see you, take your fish from your spot to your car, and they are watching you with binoculars here and drones now. So just keep in mind that if you're going to walk back to your car without dispatching your fish and put them in your car and throw them in a cooler of ice and try to tell the man that that they were dead now because they've been on the ice for an hour, that's bullshit, and he knows it too. So it's just not good business. They'll move fine on their own. We don't need your help coming here moving a couple thousand every weekend.
If you got fish and there's no attempt to kill them, that's not.
And one of the people they busted even had a makeshift live well in the back of their vehicle with batteries and aerators keeping the snakeheads alive. They
Yeah,
were
that's bad
all
news.
alive and swimming when this vehicle was stopped out on 50, and they have been nailed to the cross. I can tell you that. And they're just done playing with it. You know, the parking thing, you know, they don't want to play with that too much, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's keep on with what we're doing. You know, let's go back to the whole fishing thing and the frogs. So for this is going to be our ditch lure, right?
Yep.
So we know they're lethargic. What do we want to talk about? Want to talk about some other lures real quick, or do we want to talk about?
Well, let's Gary's favorite frog though, real quick before we forget about it.
Before I forget the dispatch, and this is the bottom line before I forget all that. They've got the poker. If they pull you over and your fish are in your cooler and they lay them on the ground and they poke them and the fin so much as move, the fish twitches, anything like that, it's $750. You're done.
Per fish.
Per fish.
2 fish is a must appear.
Yes. Now, if you have the second offense, they are taking your driver's license, and they have, what's the word I'm looking for? They can take your driver's license when they get you the first time too. So just because you've got, you know, 2 fish in your vehicle, and you think you're going to get home, I'm only going to get $1,400 fine if that's how somebody's thinking about it. Think about it like this too. They're going to take your driver's license just like a DWI. You're going to have to go to court. You're going to have to go to a invasive educational program so that you understand why it's not good to do these things. So they're basically going to treat it like a DUI. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's probably the right way to go. You know,
They don't let bicycles on the Bay Bridge.
Right. Gary.
I'm sorry.
Where did that even come from?
Well,
Yeah,
you lose your license.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, I got it now. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? So yeah, I mean, just come on. I mean, you know if your fish is dead or your fish is alive. So
It's all about doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. You know, we all need to know how to dispatch the fish. The bottom line is, if you're going to keep your fish, you must kill your fish. If you are going to not keep your fish, you must release your fish right back where you caught it at, in the same exact spot. If you walk it down the bank 50 yards and let it go, and the man wants to be not having a good day, you might get a little ticket on that too. So, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Gary's fish, before I forget about it, is the Booyah Pad Crasher Jr. I mean, his frog, not his fish.
Yeah, buddy.
Is that is Gary's frog.
That's the man. He was.
So you don't,
But I got a new one today. So.
well, what is your favorite frog?
Mine is the lunker hunt, but not the pocket. I like the
Poppin' frog?
No, the one without the legs. I can't remember the name of it. Daggone it. Oh shoot.
Either way,
it's the one with the tail, like the Booyah Pad Crasher, but it's the lunker hunt. I like that. I like the lunker hunt hooks better than the Booyah. It's just me personally.
well, we know we have been. So, and I guess we should talk about that here.
Yeah, and I do-
why don't Eddie talk about that?
I do trim that's one thing on the Booyah. I do. They have probably 1.5 inches long.
Right.
Shredded rubber bands on them. I trim those back to about 3/4 of an inch. You don't get short stroke.
Now
or short struck too much.
these live target
bat
mice.
and hit the tree.
So,
I saw that. But now these live target mice, I've heard that most people have the best luck with these around the Coursey Bridge, the muskrat mounds in that area, and then these mice just coming in through there. It just makes all the difference in the world. They tear them up in that area. But man, these things just swim so nice.
The hook. The thing I like about the live target is the way that these hooks are situated. I guess you can't really.
It's hard to see in that box.
It's hard to see in the box, but the way they kind of have a little bit of a back hook to them, and the way they're kind of set up, you know, back towards the head. When that snakehead comes down on it, you know, and comes down, the thing I like is that the rubber's flexible enough that hook's immediately exposed, and you can get a pretty solid hook set with these things. You know what I'm saying?
Now, do you have any of the Savage Gear mice? Give that right real quick. Show that off.
Yeah. So the Savage Gear. Now this one, in comparison, you know, is about. They're about the same size body-wise. The only thing that you see here is you might have another maybe 1/4 of an inch length on that Savage Gear.
That swim action on that Savage Gear rat is really nice.
So that's something, because you can kind of swim this as a wake bait on the surface. You know, like a lot of times if I miss on a buzz bait, okay, a lot of times I'll go back with this lure and I won't dive it. I'll just keep it on the surface. Enough to wake it like a snake, you know what I'm saying?
It's fantastic doing it like that.
And I'll tell you what, the action on the Savage Gear is just, it is unbelievable. I will say that. And I know, Gary, you like the duck, don't you? Like to use them ducks? Yeah. You talk about your little duck lure. We'll just talk about a bunch of lures today.
the little duck. I love to use these around the wood duck boxes. You know, it's And snakeheads just gather around wood duck boxes in the spring. I don't. This time of year, I don't use this too much unless there's some birds, hanging over some trees, hanging over where bird nests are. But early on, these things are awesome.
When those baby ducks hatch, they tear up those baby duck lures.
Never one you catch on this saves a little baby duck that day anyway.
And I think one of the things that we want to touch on about the ducks too is that this year we did gain a lot of gut content with
ducks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
a lot of early spring ducks in snakehead bellies for sure.
We're going to talk about content and sex of the fish.
Yeah. So let's talk about a few. Well, let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about some more lures after that. So we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, Gary, and I know Gary wants to touch on this. So Rob Ballantyne, Jim Thompson,
all the biologists.
Beth, all you guys out there, pay attention to what we're saying here, okay? Josh, Joe, I mean everybody. Gary tell him how many you had.
In the last 3 weeks out of probably close to 30 fish, I've had neither one that's had gut content at all, except one that swallowed my frog. And I got that back. But, I mean, there's nothing in their bellies. And I have caught one male that I've taken back. Mary took hers home with her, and I didn't ask her. But they look female to me by the size of their bellies and stuff. I mean, everyone's got roe in them, and there's no males. I don't know what's going on, but there's
the females are definitely bigger from what I've seen. That's for sure.
And they're all good size. I'm talking fish 2 feet and above.
And of my 6 fish that I caught Monday, they were all females.
Yeah.
There was no males.
I posted a picture of 6 that I caught and one night on Friday night a couple weeks ago. Every one of them were females.
Now I've been doing a little reading on my own. I always try to do that. And always try.
I didn't know you read, Kaz.
Well, it's a lot of pictures I can learn. Like if you flick it real fast, like you remember them like that. Yeah. That's how I learn. So, I think that water temperature, from what I'm reading, has some to do with the sex of the offspring that are spawned.
Really?
Yeah. So if the water temperature may be, say, 58 in one area, and the water temperature may be 67 in another area, that area at 58 may produce more females, and the area at 60-some degrees may produce more males. Now, I may have that backwards in the way I'm saying it, but we have Rob Ballantyne coming next week, and I'm so excited about this, Rob. We can't wait for you to get out here, dude, because Rob has no connection to anybody as far as the snakeheads go, okay? He's not doing work on behalf of the kill guys. He's not doing work on behalf of the release guys. He's not doing work on behalf of the state. He's done his own work, and the work that he's done is absolutely magnificent when you look at the time that he's put into some of the stuff that he's done, and where he's gone above and beyond where some of the data collection that we've done here at Blackwater isn't looking at, scale samples, growth rings, otoliths, things like that, So he really kind of looked at some other angles that we may not have necessarily looked at. And this is the good thing about outside people that aren't connected to what we're doing, because they don't have any pre-conformed opinion of what we have here. They're coming in here kind of blind. They're coming in here with some experience of being here over time. They're coming in here with some experience of watching what's happened in the last 20 years as somebody who comes here and visits. So I know that he was really curious in the beginning when I started doing what I was doing, and he was really reaching out to me, and we were trying to help him with getting him scale samples and things like that from corn flour and stuff the last couple of years. So here's another guy who's done more than just a year of snakehead fishing and thinks he knows everything. I mean, this is a guy who's been to school for all this, and, he's taken his own time, no money. Nobody's paid him to do what he's doing, you know what I mean? So those guys like that, they really deserve a hats off to them, you know what I mean? Because they don't have to do that. I mean, this is something. Their spare time. This is something that he decided he wanted to do just because, he's been coming down here for 30, 40 years hunting Sika Deer and stuff like that, et cetera, So, we're going to have some people coming in here in the next couple of weeks we're going to revisit some things with some of the biologists. We're going to have Rick Aben from Friends of Blackwater. He's going to be here on the 16th, I think. Is that right, Gary? So we have Rick, and then we've got Rob. We've got, I'm going to have Joe coming back. I'm going to have Josh coming back. We're going to revisit some stuff on the Upper Bay of what's going on up there.
While you're on Blackwater, let's get Gary, why don't you touch on the Blackwater permits?
Yeah, the permits. Yeah.
Yeah, the Blackwater permits went on sale.
Is this for the this for hunting season, correct?
For hunting season,
Okay.
correct. On Blackwater, and Blackwater has acquired another big chunk of property. It's going to be property X, I think it is, and they're putting in a parking lot and a place to well, it's already a place to walk back, but they're putting in a place to be able to park. You want to go on recreation.gov, not recreational, recreation.gov, and just pay attention as you go on it, because I know last year when I went on, I got frustrated and give up, and then I came back to it. But just every time it prompts, it shows something. Be sure it's where you want to be. Find Blackwater on there, and your deer hunting permits and bow hunting, or however you want to do it. Each last year, I haven't been on there this year because I didn't get time to do it today. I'll probably do it tonight. Each transaction is $6. So if you want special permits, for muzzleloader or whatever, each one of them $6, and you have to go in and do the paperwork for the bow season, and you have to go back, and then you have to do the paperwork for the muzzleloader.
Each
you
one
can't
separate.
click. Yeah, they don't have a clipboard where you can click them all and then go out and pay.
Unless they change it from last year.
Yeah,
maybe.
unless they changed it. Just takes a little time. So just, you want to hunt, you got to be a little patient.
Now, keep in mind, hunting licenses don't go on sale until the 15th, I believe, of this month. So the permits are on sale now, but you still have to get your regular hunting license as well, and that doesn't go on sale until the 15th
Right.
through the state. So,
Before I forget, it's me time. If you want to get a free raffle ticket in the comments right now, write me. And you could have this ticket at the end of the show. We'll pick somebody for that. How about that, Eddie?
Wayne, it's always dinner time.
Stands. Deer stands.
Oh, yeah.
In
talking about
Blackwater this year, there are no permits to be able to put a stand up, leave your license number and all on it. It is pack in, pack out every day. Can't leave it overnight if you're going to hunt the next morning.
She'd be gone.
It is, yep. And if they catch you, I guess I don't know what they're going to. I guess they'll find you, but they'll definitely going to confiscate your stand.
Well, that's what I understand, because I you don't have to have a name placard on it now, correct?
Right.
Because you're carrying in and out.
Right.
So if you leave your stand in Blackwater, it will be confiscated. It's that simple. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's a good thing because now we don't have to deal with old stands. Somebody getting hurt trying to use an old stand. It's been sitting back there. So there's flip sides to the coin. It's maybe not the best for the senior who can't pack in very far, but we've got handicap areas for that and things like that. You know what I mean?
And it's also when you go and you're setting up stand and your stand that you put up, and then somebody comes in after late and they're shining the light around, making a lot of noise.
Right.
Now, it's part of hunting. Right. It's just how it is. But one person doesn't have the hot spot and keep it all the time.
Right. I think, like I said, I think this is a good thing for Blackwater. I mean, we all know here that when we walk through the woods that we see stuff all the time. We see stands that are 40, 50 years old. We see old abandoned school buses that are
trailers.
Yeah, I mean,
so
all that stuff's going to have to be cleaned up on these properties where they've bought them to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen some ratty stands, man. I've seen the stuff that Japanese bamboo scaffold was better than.
And it's not even so much that it's the danger factor that a hunter faces when he says, "Oh, look, there's a stand nobody's using. I'm going to hunt that today," and then somebody falls and they're 8 miles back in the marsh with no way to get to them. You know what I mean?
You don't know that the guy that was there before you didn't loosen up the strap before he came down or whatever. And wooden stands. I'm a builder and I don't use wooden stands.
Now, one thing we do want to mention, this is something that this change has been coming for a couple of years. It's been voted on in the Blackwater, and this is something that the hunters actually wanted.
Yes. Yep, they took that survey, I think it was 2017. They asked hunters, what was their preference on stands.
The only thing that worries me about that is more guys are going to be hunting on the ground. That's kind of the thing that kind of like worries me. Not so much the seniors, not so much that, but just guys now are be like, well, I'm not taking a tree stand if I got to put it up and take it down. I'm just going to go sit on the ground and hunt somewhere.
That's part of hunting. So I mean, that's your choice.
Buy some stock and.
I think I'm just gonna hunt. I'm gonna hunt out in front of the Wolford store. They got chickens, turkeys, all kinds of stuff you can shoot there. Peacocks every now and then. No, I'm just kidding. So, want to talk about a couple more lures?
Yeah, we can.
All right.
There's time.
I I know that this is. I know Gary likes that one. So,
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
let Gary talk about that one.
Buzzbait.
That's
Oh,
a
I
year
love a
round.
buzzbait.
That's a
Yep.
year round bait right there.
Yep, absolutely. And there's the ones with the frogs. There's ones with skirts on them, whatever. But buzz baits they're awesome bait when you get in the right area with them. You can tear them
I
up.
know that's one of your favorites right
These
there.
KVDs they're awesome. They're tough. Got a lot of good action to them.
Now, Eddie, I don't know. I mean, I know you've seen that Lunker Hunt Phantom Spider. I
Well,
mean, I know none of us have used it, but let's just look at that and let's talk about that. Has anybody out there used this thing, and what can they tell us about that? You know?
I'm really anxious to try this thing out because it is mean looking,
I
man.
think it's ugly, dude.
It is. It is.
I love it, but I mean, it's ugly.
I would love to see a snakehead hit on this, just because it would be a fantastic blow up.
You know what I think you should do? I think you should go put that under the placemat at the dinner table at your house and color it all black. And when Charlotte lifts it up, just have the camera ready. And
I think I'm gonna wait until after the baby's born for that.
oh, that's a good idea too. I didn't think about that. So I want to talk about the Whopper Plopper because this was always
That's your go-to.
this is what really did it for me with snakeheads. I can't lie to you. This is the only lure that I pretty much used the first 2 years I was snakehead fishing as far as the topwater lure goes. And the effectiveness of the lure really is determined by the attitude of the fish. So, you know, sometimes you can burn this bait, you know, real fast, like a buzz bait. Sometimes you can jerk it, you know, like a plug, you know, like blah, 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 blah. My best way to fish this lure, I like to call it old ploppy, because that's what it sounds like. Plop, 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 plop. I don't go fast. I go slow. And then if I see a fish come and rise behind it, or I see something, then I might speed it up to see what the attitude is of the fish. If the fish decides it wants it, it'll run it down and get it. If the fish decides it's not sure, it'll run it down and then turn off. Or it may run it down, take a swipe at it, and miss just to kind of get a feel for it. When that's happening, I literally will take this lure and I will throw it back in there, and I will just old ploppy, plop, plop, just fast enough to get that. And I'll tell you what, a guy who I picked up that was doing that was a buddy of mine named Steve, and it was over at Maple Dam. I watched him do it. I kept missing him, and he said, "Man, slow it down," and he was just whacking them.
I'm the same way with frogs.
So I mean
Slow with a frog.
I mean that's the thing. And then this week on what else? We had a lot of MEPS catches. So let's talk about what was the most productive lure this week. This week the MEPS number 3 seemed to do a little better than a lot of the others, just because it's a little bit smaller. And again, we were talking about matching the hatch and
Well, it's
the size of
presentation,
bait.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So we know that number 3 did a lot this week in the chartreuse color. And we do know that there was a 14-pounder that was caught on the number 5
The tandem.
with the tandem, the double set, and it was hot pink. So you all been hearing me talk about that hot pink for a while now. Chatterbait wise, you know, Dixon's baits, you know, you got that over there, Gary.
Yeah.
Where's your show that chatterbait again real quick.
Oh, got him hung up here, but there he is.
You know, we've been getting a lot of fish on that, a lot on the Z-Man, a lot on the SS, a lot of different chatterbaits are producing
And the
right
splatters.
now. Yep, the splatter
Splatters
baits
are always
well,
hitting, man.
The splatter baits are hitting good. The you know, they've got these hyperelastics pre-rigs here, and these are actually really hot off the bridges, just jigging them. I've been catching a lot of speckled trout on this, okay, and I haven't really been talking about it too much, but this has been a just incredible speck lure down here. I ain't kidding you. The application that I'm doing is I'm casting through the bait schools and swimming underneath the school, or I'm just simply dropping down behind a pylon and just jigging behind a pylon, you know what I mean? And the trout just seem to, they just can't seem to pass it up. As far as lures go, I think that's about everything we got. I do want to talk about the Tatulas. You know, we've got the Tatulas in now.
Left-handed.
This is a left-hander here for me. That's going to be mine.
Maybe.
But maybe not. But they're 7.3 to 1 gear ratio. I mean, 7 ball bearings, 1 roller. I mean, can hold a pretty good bit of line from what I'm seeing here. You got 77 centimeters, so you can get a lot of line on that thing. Eddie, I think we got him here, 160, something like that?
Yeah, 159.
159. So if you want one, get out here. We've only got a few left. They've been selling pretty fast, so check out that there. And then, I don't know, what else we got going on, guys?
I think that's about it. You can.
Gary, do you got anything else?
No, That's about it. We've covered the Sika Deer.
Yeah, we talked about the permits. We're good to go. Kaz, I think it's time.
It's time. It's now the Sunday Fun Day giveaway, brought to you by the Crab Stand and Blackwater's Edge. All right, folks, look, from our good friends over at MEPS. All right, this week we're giving away 2 more MEPS to somebody. And this week, Stephen Bigger, I think your name is, we're going to give you a MEPS. And Mr. Thomas Timlin, don't ask, it wasn't rigged. Your name just come out. You get that bad boy right there, my friend. Come on down and get it. Look, from the Crab Stand, home of the guaranteed #1 Maryland crab. When you want fresh Maryland crabs from the Eastern Shore, you want the Crab Stand. So look, what I'm going to do at the Crab Stand this week, Lawrence Lee, I'm going to give you a dozen crabs. Jessica Culp, C-A-L-P, I'm going to give you a dozen crabs. Troy Testerman, I'm going to give you a dozen crabs. Molly Herman Kessel, I'm going to give you a dozen crabs. All right, from wickedstickers.com, my good friend Eris, you're going to get the Crab Stand package, or you're going to get a Snakehead package via wickedstickers.com. Look, Hillary Boomert, B-O-M-E-R-T, that's the last name. So, Hillary, you get that package. Look, my good friend Mitch out there at Stonebridge Grill, he's whipping up some special stuff this weekend. Make sure you check out the scallops. Make sure you check out the soft crabs. Make sure you check out the True Blue Crab Cakes. Look, Natalie Falmer, we are going to give you a $20 gift card, and you can use that out there. And for the me giveaway, Miss Karen Myers, we're going to put your name into the raffle. So hopefully you can get that Snakehead trip. And from all of us out here, let's leave you with a little crabby jingle. Look, it's the 4th of July holiday, everybody. We want you to party. We want you to party safe. We want you to come out to the Wolford store and get Snakehead bites while you're here on your visit. We want you to come out here and get some tackle while you're here celebrating the 4th of July. And we want you to come on down here to Dorchester County, okay? We want you to come on down here and enjoy the 4th of July. But before we go, let's leave you with a little crabby jingle. Everybody that comes out to get crabs at the Crab Stand, look, I love it. The kids come up and they're like, Mr. Kaz, can we sing the crabby jingle? And I'll say, no, I don't know how it goes, but if you tell me, and then they'll sing it to me. So I think it's really a good thing that we do this every week, so we'll continue to do it. So my crabs, they have 3 first names. It's heavy, full, and fat. My crabs, they have a 4th name. Absolutely mustard packed! So if you ask me where they're from, Gary and Eddie will tell you they're all guaranteed Maryland #1s. At the Crab Stand, here's a fact I know for sure you're coming back. Kapow, kapow, and kapow. Happy 4th of July, everybody.